Well, when Vladimir Putin waged his war in Ukraine, he was apparently hoping to revive the Soviet Union. Many who lived under that regime and fled are fearful that history could be repeating itself. Joining us now is New York City Councilwoman Inna Vernikov, who was born in Ukraine, which was then a part of the Soviet Union. Inna, thanks so much for coming on today. I'm curious about your background, learning that you fled when you were 12 years old. Do you still have family and friends who remain in Ukraine?
Hi, first of all, thanks for having me on. No, I do not have any family, but I do have friends and classmates, former classmates and former neighbors who are in Ukraine, and I'm in touch with them on a weekly basis on terrific what's going on down there.
Sure, and of course, you follow the news as well, so you'd be updated as to the atrocities and also the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding following this war in Ukraine that is currently playing out here. What's it like for you to see what's happening and to see these Russian forces invade?
It's extremely devastating for me, for my family, and just talking to people down there, you know, we're trying to do what we can to help. My town of Chernovitz, where I come from, it's in western Ukraine. It's about 40 kilometers to the Romanian border. So it's not being bombed right now, but they are hearing sirens several times a day. They're running to bunkers. My former classmates and friends down there are learning how to shoot guns. So they're scared, but they're prepared. They're preparing to do what they can, and they're ready to defend their country.
Sure. As you live in America, as an American, and watching what's playing out, and we're watching our leaders as well, how they're responding during this international crisis, what do you make of the White House's response?
I mean, look, I wish that there was more of a preemptive response than a reactive. I wish that there was more done when Congress was calling for more sanctions. I wish that President Biden implemented sanctions earlier. I think that Putin sees us as weak. He sees Biden and the Biden administration as weak. He doesn't really see us as strong leaders as America once used to be. I think that gave him an opening and encouraged President Putin to attack Ukraine. At this moment, I understand why America can't give them the no-fly zone they're asking for. It would obviously put us in a very, very difficult position, possibly World War III. Russia has nuclear weapons, so I think we have to tread lightly. Obviously, it's too late. But I do think that our administration is not responding as they could be. I think, you know, President Zelensky is asking for more weapons, more tanks, more fighter jets. I don't see why America can provide that.
Yeah. And, you know, Councilwoman, what's so interesting is, of course, now that you're living in America and serving on New York City Council as a Republican, one of 5 there of the 51-person New York City Council, President Trump did take notice of that. I know you traveled down to Florida to meet with him. And I'm curious, what stands out to you about his policies or the way that he led this country that it differs so much so from what we would see of Democrats in Congress or even Democratic socialists like Congresswoman AOC, who's also serving in New York City, in New York?
Yeah, well, look, I come from a communist country, right? The former Soviet Union, which later became sovereign Ukraine, but I lived under communist rule when I was a little girl. And I do remember what it was like. And I remember going to the store with my grandfather, standing in long lines just to get a bottle of milk and some bread. I remember there was nothing in the shelves. There were no choices and options the way we have here in America. Life was just really difficult. It was, you know, if you were a Jew, it was impossible for you to get into medical school unless you changed your last name. It was just, there was so much government overreach. Everything was controlled by the government. Your money was controlled by the government. Everybody was portioned, food, everything was, you know, rations, and you couldn't, there was no concept of the American dream like we have here. Here in America, we, you know, the concept of America is built on capitalism and the free market economy and free choice and freedom of speech and the ability to redress your government and criticize your government and government officials, right? We didn't have that down there. And I think President Trump realized that, you know, communists and socialists, the democratic socialists of America, are trying to take over. They don't like capitalism. They, you know, I think they live in this liberal utopia where they think everybody it deserves everything for free. We should have no jails. Well, that would be great.
Yeah.
Except who's going to pay for it? And except if we had no criminals, then we could have no jails.
Right. Very true. You offer such a unique perspective. Councilwoman Ina Vernikov, thank you so much for taking the time today and sharing your story. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.